Are we live? Yes, we are. Welcome, guys. Welcome to the live stream. Just started up, guys. Let's go.
Iran says it has
We're gonna do a little update on Iran, guys. So let's check it out.
summoned all of the European Union ambassadors in the country to protest the bloc's listing of the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, as a terror group. President Trump says Iran is now seriously talking with the United States, even as he highlights the presence of powerful American naval forces in the region. Our chief national security correspondent Jennifer Griffin has details tonight.
After a warning from CENTCOM, Iran now says it has no plans to carry out live-fire exercises in the Strait of Hormuz, despite announcing last week.
Yeah, so two things they just said. One is that the EU is designating the IRGC as a terrorist organization, and two, they are saying that Iran has stopped doing their kind of like their practice drills or whatever that they've been doing in the Strait of Hormuz, or in that little Gulf area.
Week, the IRGC
They stopped doing it because U.S. said, "Hey, dude, don't be doing that shit around our equipment, our ships, our this, that, and the other. We don't like that." And so they stopped.
Navy would be holding drills in the narrow
Aaron, I agree, bro. Let's go, baby.
strait. In the Red Sea, the guided missile destroyer USS Delbert D. Black conducted a joint military exercise with Israel Sunday.
Americans should know that if they start a war, this time it will be a regional war.
President Trump said he plans to give negotiations a chance.
Right now we're talking to them, we're talking to Iran, and if we could work something out, that'd be great. And if we can't, probably bad things would happen.
Talks are slated for Friday in Istanbul. They will be led by U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff, who is en route to Israel to meet with Prime Minister Netanyahu. The UN nuclear watchdog says Iran still has 972 pounds of highly enriched uranium, enough for 10 bombs. The head of Iran's Supreme National Security Council says Iran will not transfer its highly enriched uranium outside of the country and won't agree to limit the range of its missiles. Trump allies.
So there's a couple things you guys just heard. Trump said that they have ongoing negotiations, and if Iran doesn't do what we want them to do, then it's not going to be a good time for Iran. I think, in my opinion, based on what I've seen and what I've been kind of researching, it looks like Trump is kind of messing with them, is playing a game with them. As we get all of our military, elements in place, he's playing them along, stringing them along, knowing that they're not. First of all, Iran is not going to agree to what we want. They just said it themselves. They're not going to remove or ship out the enriched uranium, so they're not gonna get rid of their enriched uranium, which is a problem for U.S. and a couple other things. So, but I don't. And another thing is, we already know that any negotiations with Iran end in pretty much a bunch of nonsense. They end up doing whatever they want to do, contrary to what we agree, and it's we're always back to square one, which is where we're at right now.
And Iran hawks are putting pressure on the White House in the wake of the Iranian regime's deadly protest crackdown.
President Trump, you said help is on the way. That has to be real. It has to be real soon. You're Reagan plus. This is the defining moment in your presidency. Stand by the people. The Ayatollah falls. The region changes. Bigger than the fall of the Berlin Wall.
The Trump administration has long criticized the Obama administration for negotiating a nuclear deal that ignored Iran's ballistic missile stockpile. Israel has also urged the U.S. to focus on Iran's ballistic missiles, John.
Well, we'll see if anything comes of that. Jen, thank you for the update.
All right, moving on overseas, the U.S. and Iran are reportedly preparing for talks in Turkey this week in hopes of easing tensions between the two nations. This as the Ayatollah warns the U.S. not to attack Iran, posting on X, quote, "The Americans should know if they start a war, this time it will be a regional war." But
so more threats from Iran. Okay, you're literally going to threat the U.S. that it's going to become a regional war. What exactly do you have in mind? Russia already said they're not going to help Iran. China already said they're not going to help Iran. So what are they talking about?
President Trump isn't backing down, saying this when asked by a reporter.
On Iran, the Supreme Leader today said that U.S. attack could spark a regional war. Giving your response to that?
Why wouldn't he say that? Of course you're going to say that. But we have the biggest, most powerful ships in the world over there, very close, a couple of days. And hopefully we'll make a deal. If we don't make a deal, then we'll find out whether or not he was right.
Joining me now is former Deputy National Security Advisor and Heritage Foundation Vice President Victoria Coates. Victoria, thank you so much for joining us this morning. As the president shows U.S. military strength coupled with a willingness to talk, where do you foresee all of this going?
Well, good morning, Carly. Yeah, I think it's going to take more than an ex post to prevent President Trump from taking whatever action he decides is in the interests of the American people.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to take more than an X post. It's going to take more than a tweet to change Donald Trump's mind on what's right, what's the next step, what's the correct action to take for the American people.
And so we'll see what happens in Turkey this week. Obviously, everyone would prefer to.
This guy, random white dude, says, bruh, the country of USA are not the savior of everybody, or has to be for real. That's what's going to be. Every country has to save his country by himself, in his opinion. But in my opinion, but yeah. You can't say all that and then say, but yeah. There's a lot of different opinions on this. The Iranian people have been trying to do it on their own for 47 years. They just tried to do it again, and they just got wiped. 40 to 50,000. Some say upwards of 70,000 people have been eliminated in the process. So they're unarmed, which is why we have the Second Amendment here in America, is to protect ourselves against a tyrannical government. Unfortunately, in Iran, they are unarmed, so they stand no chance against that regime. And so, and the other thing is, again, it's in Americans' best interest to get rid of that regime. That regime is what's creating all the trouble in all of that region and all the way over here to America. So, if I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but they literally are threatening your presidents. They are threatening your American citizens. I mean, if you are American. And so I'm American, and they're threatening my fellow American citizens. They're threatening my president. They're threatening. They have a bounty on our president's head for the last, I think, 4 years or longer now. Not only that, they have been, for the last 47 years, they've been coming out and eliminating people in the United States. It's been ongoing, okay? And we have all the evidence of that. So it is a threat. They're also the ones that are basically feeding, supporting, and funding terrorists, not only in their region, but around the world. So that's why it is not only in Iranian people's, not only are we helping the Iranian people in their fight for freedom, it is in America's best interest and the world's best interest to wipe out that regime. So good question. Good. I'm glad you brought that up, and we'll go from there. Emmer, AJ, what's up? Louis, what's up? Jennifer, what's happening? Good morning to y'all. Dude came back and said again, so this is in response. Well, I'm out of here. Came here from the stream, not the negativity of some. Well, I'm out here. Came here for the stream, not the negativity of one. So yeah, cry harder. You guys said. Oh, here, no bueno at all. NPC. Oh, so now you're talking shit. Okay, cool, sweet. So you're a straight loser. Okay, solid, bro.
Diplomacy. This has been on offer.
What up, William? William says, when I was in Iraq, that's all we heard is that they were trying to kill us in Iraq. They're trying to, we have all kinds of evidence everywhere, and I've seen it with my own eyes. They are saying death to America, death to Israel, and death to Western civilization. That's their MO. That's what they do. And that's what the action, that's not just the words they say, it's the actions they take. They are saying that all the time. That's their thing.
For the Iranians for over.
They want to take out all of Western civilization. That's their whole goal. And they try to do it militarily for 47 years, unsuccessfully, and they learn how to do it without using military force. You know what they did? They've infiltrated our universities. They infiltrated a lot of our all parts of our culture, to be honest. So and society, and so they're doing it. They have a stronghold on UK and France. They've pretty much taken over the brains of liberals. That's why you have liberals saying free Palestine, and they know nothing about the Middle East. So and they got liberals to not only say free Palestine and support terrorists, they also got liberals to hate themselves and hate their own countries. And they even got, I even said it in my other thing, they even got some Jewish people that hate themselves. That's how strong this Muslim propaganda is.
For a year now, they didn't have to have the 12-day war in June, which they lost by every conceivable metric, disastrously for them.
Yes, too fast to track. What's up, bud? Good to have you. He says, is that what you mean by urban warfare? Yes.
And so if they're now in a condition where their economic mismanagement, the disaster that's going on in that country is so severe that they're
AJ says that comment you just read made zero sense. It's probably an IRGC plant. Exactly, bro.
Actually willing to make significant concessions to the United States, particularly on the nuclear file. There's no harm in having a discussion about that.
No, there certainly wouldn't be. But the single most important condition in terms of negotiations for the United States would be for Iran to denuclearize and give up their nuclear weapons ambitions. But there are already images that show that Iran is already rebuilding those nuclear facilities that were bombed shortly after the 12-day war during Operation Midnight Hammer. So if that's the most important...
By the way, again, I'm going to mention this every time. The name of that operation is my favorite so far. Operation Midnight Hammer.
And condition for the United
Yes, guys, you're right. William Burns says, Rep America, this fight was going to happen sooner or later. Yes, it was. It's actually, this fight was supposed to happen a long time ago, except our presidents have been so weak. They didn't have their big boy pants, bro. They were like weak ass presidents that were not. They were incapable of pulling the trigger, And then as a result of that, you had this regime continuing to imprison and eliminate innocent citizens, literally just for like showing hair or playing music or what. I mean, basic stuff. And the worst part of all is their handling of their economic situation with our country. They've destroyed the economy. That's why you have Persians in Iran that have multiple degrees. They are PhDs, some are doctors. They barely make livings. You only make a living in Iran right now, or in the last 47 years, if you are adjacent to the government, if you are related to the government, if you have a friend that's a family member of the government. If you had a big ass business, profitable business in Iran, this regime would go in and file some lawsuit against you or do something against you to where there's nothing you can do, and you have to eventually side with some random guy comes along and says, I can help you. I know you're going through this tough time with this lawsuit that the government is doing to you, but I can help you. And who is that person? From the government. It's literally one of the government guy's cousins or something, or his uncle or his son or something. And that's what they do. They take over your country, your company. Any profitable business that was created by any successful entrepreneur, someone with a brain, was taken over by the government. And that whole country has collapsed as a result of that. Inflation has gone through the roof, and it's so high people can't survive.
United States, and it's a non-starter for Iran. I mean, does that only leave military action being taken?
Well, it's hard to see a different path. But again, I think we're in a different place than we were in June. I think the Iranians thought when President Trump came back in that he was somehow, so eager to get a deal that he would put up with all of their nonsense, their endless sort of tergiversations. They're trying to play for time, and all the while they were going for a nuclear weapon. That's what he showed them with Midnight Hammer, that was not going to be tolated. He did very significant damage to that.
Yeah, he's one of the first presidents ever to actually go in and do that kind of damage to their nuclear. Now, I have someone, Mohar Fatemeh in Instagram says, all I want to know, when do these criminals are out of Iran? How could we justify any conversation with these criminals when they killed so many innocent Iranians? Fatemeh, that's what I was saying earlier, is I think this supposed negotiation that Trump keeps talking about is a game. I think he's playing a game with them. I think it's all a game. And he is just making them just kind of, he's taking his time. And I think the whole issue with Trump is there's a lot more that goes into this. With Venezuela, it was a little bit different. With Iran, it's all the way in the Middle East. And there's a lot of other things that Iran has set up. And so I would say that Trump is making sure everything is in the right place before he strikes Iran, so that if there is some retaliation from different areas, that it is manageable. So that's what I think is happening. I think he's talking about these negotiations, and he's just buying himself more time to set up things, in the area in the Middle East, so that, he can strike at the right time. This may not be the right time. Right now may not be the right time. As bad as we want to save innocent lives, it may not be the right time. So anyway, let's keep going. AJ says Tusi puts out a lot more information than he could ever
program.
say. Yeah.
As you said, we think they are trying to rebuild. That's something the Israelis are watching very closely. We are as well. If that's the case, and we can get to a verifiable deal, that they give that up because they think that their survival is at risk now, then, as I said, that's fine. But at the same time, we now have a president, Carly, who has demonstrated not just through Midnight Hammer, but also through absolute resolve, the action against Maduro in Venezuela, that he is willing to use American strength when it is necessary, particularly in a targeted way that changes the conditions on the battlefield. So if the Iranians think they can just kind of string the Trump administration along through these talks in Turkey, I think they're probably going to come to some more grief.
Yeah, and moving from the Middle East to Europe now, I want to ask you about the war in Ukraine, because President Trump negotiated a temporary pause in fighting between Russia and Ukraine because Ukraine is experiencing this extreme cold snap and many people are left without power. But Vladimir Putin just violated that in a drone strike, killing 15 people. There were energy workers, off-duty miners. So how should the president respond to this, the violation of what he had negotiated?
Yeah, the situation in Ukraine remains just a really grinding, long, hard slog. And I think we saw some positive steps in terms of the trilateral talks that took place. Hopefully there'll be another round of those to come up. There was sort of a surprise meeting between Steve Witkoff and some Russian officials in Florida over the weekend. So hopefully everyone is still talking. It's always unfortunate that we're dealing with Vladimir Putin, who has no compunction about taking human life, civilians, as just happened in that terrible strike in eastern Ukraine. So hopefully this is 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and we can continue to make some incremental progress.
Yeah, the latest rounds of talks between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine are taking place later this week in Abu Dhabi. Victoria, thank you so much for joining us.
On Iran, the Supreme Leader today said that U.S. attack could spark a regional war. Do you have any response to that?
Why wouldn't he say that? Of course you're going to say that, but we have the biggest, most powerful ships in the world over there.
We have the biggest, most powerful ships in the world over there, not to mention what's on those ships and who is on those ships and who is operating our military. All of our wonderful, wonderful men and women that are out there, man. Love you guys. And he's right. Of course, the Iranian government is going to say whatever they want to say. They're going to say all kinds of things. That's what they've been doing. It's called theater. These guys have been playing the world with nonsense bullshit for the last 47 years. And they haven't even looked back, bro. They literally, they've been just using the same playbook. They sit there and they go, well, if you strike us, then we're going to strike you harder than you've ever been hit, and blah, blah, and nothing happens. And then, now their whole thing is, if you strike us now, it's going to create a regional war. It's like, okay, bro. Yeah, whatever.
Very close, a couple of days, and hopefully we'll make a deal. If we don't make a deal, then we'll find out whether or not he was right.
President Trump responding as Iran's supreme leader came out of his bunker and warned any U.S. strike on the region will spark an all-out regional war. It comes as the U.S. and Iran are reportedly preparing for talks in Turkey this week as the president hopes to strike a nuclear deal in the next few days. At least that's what he says. Hudson Institute senior fellow Rebecca Heinrich joins us now. Rebecca, do you think the president's really focused on a nuclear deal with Iran, or is there something else happening?
I don't think that a nuclear deal is in the offing. I don't think it's the president's number one priority at this point. Remember, Brian, we significantly degraded the Iranian nuclear program.
Yeah, AJ's right. China did exercises, I think, together with Russia for a couple of days, or maybe even like one day, to be honest, is what I heard. And then U.S. goes, no, dude, that's not cool. We're not good with that. And right away they stopped. That was it. It was like boom, done. And so they cut it, and that's all they're gonna do is basically do some kind of a song and dance in the region, and then they're gonna cut it, and then they're out. They're not gonna back up Iran. China and Russia are not going to step in and help Iran. They've said it publicly already. It's already been stated. Officially, Russia has said they will not be getting involved
in Operation Midnight Hammer. And the only person in Iran who even has any authority over the nuclear program is the Ayatollah Khomeini. And he is not only mocking President Trump, but he's threatening the United States of America directly, saying that the United States needs to be, quote, held accountable. So, no, I don't think a nuclear deal is in the offing. I think President Trump is still getting all U.S. forces settled in the region. Of course, there's a massive amount of naval-powered air power already in the region, Brian. And I think that we're going to get some missile defenses ready to go where U.S. troops are deployed and within range of some Iranian ballistic missiles. But I think that there's still going to be a strike.
So look at that. Look at that. Look at what we have. Wow. Look at that picture right there. Roosevelt, Bukele, or I don't know how you say that. McFall, Mitcher. Abraham Lincoln is the big one. USS Spronce, the Frank Peterson, and the Michael Murphy. Wow. It is nuts. Look at that. Oh, and don't forget the USS Dilbert D. Black.
Soon, it depends on this point what President Trump has in mind for what his targets are.
So, Rebecca, I want people at home to see a map of all the proxies that...
Exactly, AJ. They've been threatening us for 47 years. There's nothing new here about
Iran is financing, knowing their people are running out of water in the nation's capital. Their food prices going through the roof. Their diminished currency.
Okay, now listen to this part. For those of you that are watching that are like, oh, why would they do anything? What's the big deal? Iran is such a great government. Islam. I love Islam. It's so amazing. No, I don't love Islam. I'm joking, you guys. I hate Islam. So that's let's get one thing out of the way. But listen to what he says right here. Listen to this.
People at home to see a map of all the proxies that Iran is financing, knowing their people are running out of water in the nation's capital. Their food prices going through the roof. Their diminished currency gets loses value by the day. But yet they're writing checks to all these horrible organizations who Israel says is violating the ceasefire.
So that's what they're saying right now. If you want to look at this, this is a map of where all of the money that comes out of the country of Iran, it doesn't go to help the people or to fix the roads or to help any kind of life, civilian life in Iran. It goes to these places, to these terrorist groups. If you look at your map and you can't read it, let me show you. In yellow, it says Al-Ashtar brigades or some brigades or something like that. Then you got Yemen, you got Houthis, You got Hamas in the green, which is pointing up there to Gaza. You got Hezbollah, which is in Lebanon. You got the Shiite militias in Iraq, or whatever you want to call it. You got some, I think, some elements, or I guess something in Bahrain. So you got you got these guys, Iran, the government of Iran, funding all of these groups in the Middle East. Not only funding, supporting them, training them, sending them resources, sending them soldiers. And then now these countries that you're looking at and these proxies that you're looking at that are being fed, that continue to be fed by the Iranian government, these are the places they grabbed people. They pulled soldiers from these places to go into the country of Iran, into their own country, and to eliminate their own citizens. So that's who we have right now going, that are currently on the ground in Iran, that are wiping out innocent protesters. They're people from all of these regions that you're seeing on your screen.
So there is a breaking point here where they're creating chaos in the Middle East. Their people are starving, rising up. They're slaughtering them in the streets. What is America's correct?
Yes, AJ is correct. He's saying the coalition forces have their country surrounded and they're waiting on orders. That's what's happening.
Role here.
Yeah, so the Iran regime is the greatest source of instability throughout the entire Middle East. So you make a great point, Brian. I mean, Iran isn't just slaughtering its own people, which it is. President Trump made a very clear red line that if the Iran regime turns on its own people, that the United States would come to the aid of the people. We now know from credible reporting as many as 30,000 or more innocent young Iranians have been slaughtered by the Iran regime just in the last couple of weeks, Brian. And then, rather than trying to solve that problem and regain stability, the regime is funding and fueling terrorist proxies throughout the Middle East, disrupting President Trump's peace plan with the Israelis. And of course, Americans have also been killed by proxies funded and by the Iran regime. And so for President Trump, I think to finally push the regime over and let the Iranian people take control of their own country is a major strategic opportunity for peace and stability in the Middle East.
And Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Oman.
Peace and stability not only in the Middle East, but around the whole world, in my opinion. The whole world. They literally have been doing this in Iran was also in Venezuela. There were Iranian drones, again, resources, military equipment. Iranian drones were in Venezuela when we went there. They're all the way in South America, guys. This is going to be a more stability on our whole planet.
And Turkey are scrambling, they say, to stop the U.S. from striking Iran. But yet all those countries have had huge problems outside Turkey with Iran. What are we to believe?
Exactly. And by the way, Natasha, thank you, Free Iran. And BYJ, I can't read Farsi, bro. You got to do a little translate. I can if I really take my time, but I'm not.
So all of those countries benefit from a severely weakened and degraded Iran, and of course, a removal of the Ayatollah from the Iran governance. And so all of those countries are really enemies of the Iran regime. They benefit from having a strong Israel, actually, in the Middle East to stabilize the area. So I think, Brian, sometimes those countries will publicly say they oppose it because they have domestic Muslim audiences that are tied to what happens in the region. Of course, they don't want to be seen as siding with the United States. But I think their interests align with ours. Having a significantly weakened Iran regime is in the interest of all of those Gulf states.
You have a lot of things going on right now. You got the fact that Jews are in support of the Iranian people has made a lot of people not want to help the Iranian people. It's crazy. But all of these people that were supposedly for humanity, that were out there saying free Palestine because they were supposedly for humanity, it turns out, no, they were for Islam. Because right now, just because Jews said they support the people of Iran and you see a Jewish flag of Israel in support of Iran, that makes almost like half of the world hate, basically not want to help the Iranian people. That's why it's not anywhere near free Palestine. And these people have this blind hate for Jews that you can't even talk sense into them anymore. They're completely captured mentally. There's literally they don't even know anything about the Middle East, yet they hate Jews. They love Islam. They love terrorists. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. And again, I don't see it just from all the stuff that I'm doing, but I'm also out there in the streets, in the protest and doing live interviews on the streets and all kinds of stuff. So, and of course, I'm Persian. I know people that are Muslim. I know people that are Jewish. I know both sides. And it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my whole life, because Jews support the people of Iran. All of liberals don't. Because Trump supports the people of Iran. All of liberals don't. They totally exposed the liberal left. Just put it that way. The liberal left has been exposed. If you're someone that's a Democrat, a liberal, or on the left, how are you still mentally captured by this crazy ideology? I don't get it. It makes no sense.
Partners, especially for economics and trade and, of course, energy markets as well, Brian.
It's in our national interest to make sure this regime goes. They've killed thousands of Americans, not just in the Iraq war and other terrorist activities. They threaten our president. They're targeting people in our country that they don't like Iranian journalists.
I just said all of this. I literally just said all of what he just said. They threaten our president. They threaten our people, literally American citizens in America. They've been killing Americans in the Middle East. Why are we waiting till now, by the way? Can anyone explain that to us? Why is it no other president had the guts to stand up for what's right? It's completely crazy. We haven't had a president that has the guts to stand up.
This has got
47 years. 47 years. Not one president could stand up and say, bro, this is crazy. This is stupid.
To stop. It can't stand. The people of Iran can't stand their leadership, and they've never been more vulnerable. Rebecca, I hope the president takes action. Thanks so much for joining us today.
In the meantime, you've got President Trump striking a positive tone on the chances of a deal with Iran. That country's supreme leader, though, keeping tensions on the boil. This tough talk from this weekend.
We are not the initiators.
Dang, William Byrne says IRGC has got my brother's blood on their hands. Dude, I'm telling you, this stuff hits closer to home than you guys think, man. This hits closer to home than you guys think.
And do not want to attack any country, but the Iranian nation will strike a strong blow against anyone who attacks and harasses them. Also, Americans should know that if they start a war, this time it will be a regional war.
Look at this loser on your screen. Look at this retard on your screen, sitting there threatening the United States, doing the most horrific things to his own people. On top of starving them out and destroying their economy to where they can't really function anymore, he decided to just go ahead and eliminate, like they're saying it's over 50,000 people. It's crazy, bro. This animal that's on your screen right now. All of these people on the screen that are in the audience that they're showing, those are paid people.
So now from the White House, the president shrugging those remarks off. He also pointed out the buildup of U.S. forces in the Middle East. He said this in Florida at Mar-a-Lago.
Supreme leader today said that U.S. attack could spark a regional war. Giving you response to that?
Why wouldn't he say that? Of course, he would say that. But
AJ brings up a good point. AJ said, here, let me put it on the screen, bro. It's a good point. He says, you can't stand up, because I was saying, how come these presidents weren't able to stand up for what's right for 47 years? They couldn't stop this. AJ says, you can't stand up for what's right when you got all the Dems, the Democrats, liberals, funding the terrorists billions of dollars. You guys are aware that Obama gave them plane loads of money, right? Cash. They literally filled up planes with American $100 bills and shipped it to Iran to give it to these people for what he thought was a good deal. They said they would stop whatever activity they were doing, and he just said, "Oh yeah, here's billions of dollars." And guess what happened? They kept doing what they were doing, and they got all of our money. Taxpayer money, yours, my money, your money, all of our money. Medi says he's not one of us. He's not Iranian. He's the devil's spawn. Yes, you're right. He's there. She's talking about. She's talking about Khamenei.
Ships in the world over there, very close. A couple of days, and hopefully we'll make a deal. If we don't make a deal, then we'll find out whether or not he was right.
All right, a lot to cover on this. Dan Hoffman's the man to do it. Former CIA station chief, Fox News contributor. Dan, good morning to you, and thank you for your time. Here are the naval assets now that the U.S. has deployed, and there's a lot of firepower. For the president right now, take it from his perspective, what is he trying to gauge?
Yeah, I think what the president is trying to do is use every bit of U.S. leverage to get to a nuclear deal with Iran. Remember, the president said that help was on the way to the protesters. He said that Iran needed new leadership last month. I think those were points of leverage. That, along with the military buildup in the region, is designed to give us the leverage we need to drive Iran to the bargaining table. Remember, Iran is weaker now than they've ever been. They are suffering a serious water shortage. Their economy is in free fall. Israel destroyed their air defenses back in the June war, the 10-day war last year. We've taken the fight to their proxy terrorists. They're weaker now than they've ever been before. The challenge for the United States is that Iran retains short-range missiles, long-range missiles, torpedo boats that they could use in the Strait of Hormuz. So we've got to rely on our intelligence community to plan out how Iran might respond to any one of U.S. attacks, if indeed we need to launch them.
Okay, so we just played a clip from the Supreme Leader, but the Iranian president, according to a report earlier today, about 7 hours ago, said that he's ordering nuclear negotiations with the United States. Do you believe that? And if so, what form would that take?
I agree with what David is saying in the chat. He says, you must understand, this is an Instagram. He says, you must understand President Trump is a mastermind. He already knows what to do. It's done. I agree. I think it's already a wrap. They're just kind of figuring out exactly what the right timing is, what the right day is, what the right, plan of attack is. Where do we start? Where do we end? What's the goal? What are we trying to do? And what happens once we do this? And then Janitor was right again. He says Trump is the only one that kept them poor so that they couldn't rise up. Yes. And he said the Democrats are anti-American. Apparently, from what we're seeing, it's hard to disagree with that.
Yeah, I think that's front and center for Director Ratcliffe and the intelligence community to advise the president. With Iran, it's always mistrust and verify. And so, yes, Iran may want to enter into negotiations. The question is whether they do that in good faith. Just a few days ago, they signed a strategic cooperation agreement with Russia and China designed to help them together bust our sanctions and build out their defense cooperation. So we have to be worried about any potential negotiations with Iran where Russia and China could be spoilers.
Okay, follow up on that after we hear from Lindsey Graham. He's talking tough. Here we go.
Here we go.
I have every confidence that President Trump will do what he promised to the people. Help is on the way. Keep protesting. If this regime falls, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, they all go. There's no deal to be done here. These people are not trusted.
Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, all of these terrorists will go. That's what I'm saying. This is in not only America's best interest, it's in the whole world's best interest. And Jennifer is right. We saw Obama do. We witnessed Obama give them cash, bro. Like, it's insane. So I don't know what this guy's spamming in the chat in all caps, but
President Trump, you said help is on the way. That has to be real. It has to be real soon.
Sounds like a red line, something we've been talking about for a couple of weeks. You mentioned the thousands of Iranian ballistic missiles that could cause havoc all over the Middle East. Our partners in the Arab world have told Iran that they've got nothing to do with this if there's military action that takes place. So you've got a lot of different cross currents. If the president and his administration were to agree to nuclear talks, would that not just be a stall tactic on behalf of Iran, as they have done in the past repeatedly?
Yeah, it absolutely could be, and I think there'll be a timetable for Iran to demonstrate that they're negotiating good faith. And if they don't, then we have the capacity, the capability, the will to launch strikes on Iran. Make no mistake, there will be collateral damage in the region. Iran, I think, is facing a lower threshold than ever before because of the risk to regime change that we talked about, to launch counterstrikes against the United States and our allies. Remember, Secretary Rubio testified last week the United States has roughly 30 to 40,000 troops stationed in the region whom Iran might seek to target. So we have to be cognizant of that as well.
Dan, thank you. Great gets your expertise. We'll watch it by the hour as of now. Going forward, Dan Hoffman, thank you, sir, for coming on today.
Let's bring in Fox News senior strategic analyst General Jack Keane. General, there is this prevailing sense that the last couple of times there were uprisings in Iran, even though the scale was smaller than they are now, 2018, 2021, the U.S. really failed to sort of seize the momentum and take advantage of it to U.S. interests. What would you most like to see the administration do now?
This dude gets down. Oh, let's listen to what he says. What's up, Jonah?
Well, I think we have a clear choice, and actually it's an historic choice and a remarkable opportunity before us. On the one hand, if we make a deal with Iran, let's even make the assumption that it's a good deal. Not only no enriched uranium, limits on ballistic missiles, and no support for proxies. That's a good deal as we could ever hope to have. But what does that really do? That extends the life of the regime indefinitely for many years to come, which would actually result in some kind of sanction relief down the road. And what a betrayal that is to the tens of thousands who gave up their lives to do what? Not to make a nuclear deal, to get rid of this regime. The other choice is we can conduct a military operation that's well planned and will be well executed with the Israelis to finish this regime once and for all. And if that takes place, think of that. They have been in power, Jillian, since 1980. 7 presidents, in addition to President Trump, have had to deal with this diabolical, barbaric regime that has destabilized the Middle East for years and killed over thousands of Americans, not to speak of the people in the region. And we now have an opportunity to end it. That will be a paradigm shift in the Middle East that will see progress for many decades to come. And what an achievement that would be for the Trump administration to be able to finally put this to rest.
Can't agree more. Can you imagine how amazing this would be for the Trump administration, for Trump's legacy, if he was the one that got rid of this Islamic regime and freed the people of Iran once and for all after 50 years? David says, we're not afraid. We will eliminate Iran regime and make the move. Yes. America, Trump legacy. What's up, buddy? Good to have you. Thank you as well. And thank all you guys. This is awesome. Love it. Love it. Let's go.
That's so interesting, General. This
somebody says I should make clips out of this after. I will.
Kind of reasoning whereby, look, you sit down with these people, you talk to them, to the regime leaders, you give them power, you give them legitimacy, you maybe extend their lifeline. That pretty closely echoes a lot of criticism from the right of the Obama administration back when they were, negotiating the JCPOA. A lot of Republicans were saying, look, just by talking to these guys, you're legitimizing them.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, listen, the history of our presidents with this regime is really something. 7 other presidents, not counting President Trump, have dealt with this regime. 3 of them did not retaliate after they killed scores of Americans. 3 presidents, 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat. All 7 of them, during their tenure, let the Iranian regime grow and increase in strength and also to destabilize the Middle East. 4 years. Trump came in the first administration, killed the iconic figure Qasem Soleimani. Nobody else had touched him. And he asked the briefer, why haven't we killed him before? Now he's planning to kill more Americans, sir, because everybody feared the consequences of that act. And now he's taken down their nuclear program as well. This is the first president that directly confronted the regime. Now he has the opportunity to finish them.
100%. Can't wait. America, Trump legacy says, I love Trump. He is the best president in my life. 100%. And then 8% says people are getting tortured and yeah, they're getting hurt, man, in Iran. It's horrible. It's horrible, bro. They're getting, if I was to describe what the regime is doing to people in Iran, they would probably cancel my channel. That's how bad it is. It's really bad. Really, really bad. William says, Rep America, Iran talk a good game, but reality is completely different, and they know this 100%, bro. Iran talks a big game, but when it's time for the rubber to meet the road, they got nothing, bro. They got nothing. They got their tail between their legs is what they got.
And I think he's going to take that opportunity.
Wow, some provocative points there, some very powerful reasoning. General, thank you so much for taking time with us today, sharing your expertise. We appreciate it.
Yeah, great talking to you, Jillian and John. Thank you.
Welcome back, America. We're here with Douglas Murray. You know Douglas Murray.
Dude, Douglas Murray has a lot to say about this, too. Check this out.
It wasn't that long ago when you'd have a generation of Americans or Brits.
Agree, bro. Jack Keane is a badass, bro. I agree with Chris Smith.
For that matter. Or if you had a regime when you'd have a generation of Americans. No, Douglas Murray. It wasn't that long ago when you'd have a generation of Americans, or Brits for that matter. Or if you had a regime in the Middle East that tried to assassinate the president or your prime minister, that alone would be the basis for a deadly military response. And yet we have much more than that. We have a regime that keeps announcing it's going to keep trying to make nuclear weapons and ICBMs to reach the United States and Europe and so forth and so on. I'm just going to ask you bluntly, why do we allow this to persist? The West I'm talking about. Europe, in many ways, is even worse than the rest of the world in dealing with Iran and so on. Why do we react this way?
Well, I'd add one more to that, Mark, if I may, which is, I mentioned this in the New York Post this week. Just consider the fact that one of the reasons why so many thousands of American servicemen were killed and wounded by IEDs and other roadside traps in Iraq after 2003 is because the Iranian Revolutionary government sent those weapons and sent their militia in order to help bog down American troops and kill American troops as well as other Western allies.
Exactly. That's why I say, and I keep repeating it, it's in America's best interest, first and foremost, to get rid of the Islamic regime. And secondly, it's in the whole world's best interest. Let's just say you don't care about Iranian people. For example, if you don't care about them, it's in America's best interest because of what Douglas just explained to you flat out. And then it's in the whole rest of the world's best interest to get rid of them. If you don't care about the people of Iran, let's just say you're psycho and you don't care about humanity. You don't care that these people are getting slaughtered. You know, at the very, America first is getting rid of the Islamic regime. So, but, you know, and the whole world, it's in the best interest of the whole world. But, you know, we normal, actual, like normal people care about the people of Iran. And that alone is insane what they've done. You guys may know, you may not know. I'm not going to explain it on my channel because it's just too crazy.
In Iraq, there was a time not only where we would respond to attempts to assassinate our leaders, but to the successful efforts to kill thousands of our troops. There was a time when we would have responded to that as well. You know, there are a lot of people I've heard in recent weeks since President Trump has rightly been threatening the regime in Iran. There have been a lot of people who say, oh, well, don't you remember 2003 Iraq and so on? And of course we all do. But one of the reasons why Iraq went so bad was precisely because the Ayatollah and the mullahs in Iran sent their death squads into Iraq to attack and kill American troops and to make...
Exactly. One of the reasons we had the issues and the disasters that we had in Iraq was because Iran was over there sending troops and all kinds of, equipment, military, everything they had over to get rid of American troops.
Iraq another vassal state of the Iranian revolutionary government. They've got away with this and much more for 47 years now. And the question is, as you say, why don't we do something about it? I think it's because the Iranians have got used to the idea that we don't really mean it. I said in the Post this week, just remember back to 2007, a British naval vessel, Royal Naval vessel, was encountered by the Iranians in a contested bit of water, and they kidnapped about 15 British sailors of the Royal Navy, and they held them hostage. And there was this pathetic bargaining by the then British government, and it was so humiliating, and the mullahs came out on top. They're used to doing things like that, and
they're used to doing things and not having to deal with the repercussions, not having to be held accountable, just like all of the liberals. The liberals are used to doing things and not having to be held accountable. And you guys are saying shame on Democrats and shame on Obama. They're the ones that are allowing Muslims to take over our countries. They are. He says, look at Trump, look at Minnesota. It's a disaster. Absolute. They shipped in all these people from African Muslim countries into Minnesota, Somalia specifically, and destroyed that town. Dude, they had it's the single largest, biggest fraud of our taxpayer money in the history of our country, I believe. And you also, what else you have here? It says, Nini Egbal says, imagine living in a peaceful world. The world will be in heaven without Islam, without the Islamic regime. I agree. We got to make them accountable. We got to hold them accountable. We got to hold them to account. This is horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Much worse with zero consequences. And the question to me is, perhaps in Donald Trump, they have finally found a rival, a contestant, you might say, who is willing to actually act when they do things that are so palpably, visibly wicked, as in massacring tens of thousands of peaceful protesters. That's the sort of thing which you would think we might summon up the moral courage to respond to.
I think you're right. I think we're about to, God willing. I certainly hope so. Douglas Murray, I want to thank you so much for your wisdom.
We got, I'm going to wrap it up here soon, guys. So thank you guys all for joining. And we got Kazampur says, down with Khamenei. Thank you, President Trump. Please free Iran. And I just wanted to end with that because that's the sentiment that all of the Iranians have. And so we definitely want Trump's help, and we want Trump to do what he said. And Trump said that if they lay a finger on innocent protesters, he's going to take them down. And we hope he does once and for all, for not just the Iranian people, but the whole world and America. Yes, that was awesome. And thank you. Good afternoon says, now I follow you. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for joining the chat. AJ, thanks for taking care of the dude with all caps. Thanks for helping out. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody. Happy Tuesday. It is the beginning of February, and we're off to a good start. Hopefully we can wrap this whole Iran thing up soon and be done with it and live in a beautiful world without the Islamic regime. Down with the Islamic regime. Let's go. See you guys. Bye-bye.